In a world where carbs are your enemy, you need one man to help you fight your battles. That man is Jimmy.
Combating nutrition disinformation and general bull. It's Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another Instagram Live.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another Instagram Live. And we're here with another episode of Jimmy Rants. If you're brand new to Jimmy Rants, hop on over to JimmyRants.com. You'll see how the magic works. We start off on Instagram, do a couple of live videos every single day. Am I the only person that goes live a couple of times a day, every single day? JimmyRants.com is where you can learn how we do the show. So Living Low Carb Man is where I am on Instagram. So if you're not following me there, go follow me. You can access all the information live as we do these episodes. You can also watch the replay for up to 24 hours over on Instagram, but after 24 hours, it is gone. So you'll have to access it only on YouTube at that point. But all of the past episodes, 160 something and counting, are all on YouTube. So go type in Jimmy Rants as a keyword search either on YouTube or on Google, and you will find the show. And then finally, we have a best of the best moments of this here show in podcast form. The Jimmy Rants podcast is over on Apple Podcast. Go and subscribe, you guys, and leave us a review. All of these links are at JimmyRants.com. Today's Jimmy Rants is all about something I got in the mail yesterday. So I got in the mail this beautiful little Happy Valentine's Day, all the little hearts all around the edge. Don't bend it because we got a little surprise in there for you. And it was very well packaged. But then you look up in the upper corner and what's it say? Paid for by the American Heart Association. And then of course when you turn it on the back, the American Heart Association symbol is there and where they are and all that jazz. And then they have kind of the warning signs of a stroke, warning signs of a heart attack, all really good information. So the American Heart Association decides to send me a Valentine, and I wonder if they even know that I do keto. It's really interesting. I don't know how I got on their mailing list, but let's see what they sent, because this should be interesting. So, of course, they are appealing. I got a little donation envelope ready to go and asking for your money to support them. We set our goal to save lives. That's the goal, and we need your help. Our 2019 annual appeal, we need a gift of $15 or more so that we can reach the lives of people who need to hear our information. Please accept this Valentine's greeting from all of us here at the American Heart Association. It's our way of saying thanks in advance for your support. And so they go on to list statistics about people that are dying of coronary artery disease and stroke and all of this. I mean, so far it looks pretty decent, right? So then you look on the back, and here's where it starts to go downhill fast. Losing weight. It tells you how. Losing weight, what it takes to produce that. To lose weight, you must use up more calories than you take in. 1 pound is about 3,500 calories, and to successfully and healthfully lose weight and keep it off, most people need to subtract 500 calories from their diet per week in order to lose about 1 pound a week. The amount of physical activity can individually vary, but you need to get both regular physical activity as well as following a healthy eating plan to lose weight and keep it off. A good plan includes 30 to 60 minutes of aerobic physical exercise at a moderate intensity, like brisk walking, and do that every day. Then they talk about how to keep a healthy body weight. Again, this is the American Heart Association. If you're just joining us, they sent me a Valentine. And I don't think they realize I'm keto, because they're not really fans of keto, as you're noticing. Keeping a healthy body weight means maintaining body weight doing these things. Knowing your triggers, roadblocks, and favorite excuses. Okay, I like that one. That's not bad. Don't kid yourself. This is a long-term effort. The first year or two after weight loss may be hard, but if you stick to it, you're likely to make it in the long run. That's not bad either. Learn from others who've succeeded. Okay. Make sure you have a social network of support. All really good stuff so far, right? Find healthy ways to motivate yourself. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's up to you. Hold yourself accountable for your decisions. Yeah. And remember, you can't do it by diet alone. Exercise could be more essential in keeping the weight off. We recommend 200 to 300 minutes of physical activity to keep the pounds from coming back. And then they talk about relapsing, where you make a mistake into your old habit. We all have good days, bad days. It's okay if you do it, but just get right back on plan again. You're not failed. Find new healthy ways to deal with life stresses instead of food. All really good stuff. So if you're just joining us, the American Heart Association decided to send me a Valentine card. And in there, all kinds of helpful information, asking for your money, number one, and then giving helpful information. It's all good, right? It's all well and good. Maybe I should send my $15 or more into the American Heart Association, because so far, nothing they've shared is really out of the ordinary of what we might believe. Then I get this little certificate of appreciation presented to Jimmy Moore, 2019, in recognition of your generous gift to support our efforts to save lives. That's all well and good, right? And I could hang that up on my wall. I should frame that and hang that up on my wall. And they even give this little piece of paper that gives all the warning signs of heart attack and stroke. You can keep that in, handy, so somebody start dealing with that kind of thing. But then we get to the problem. We have a special note just for you, Jimmy. So I open that one up. And inside, Happy Valentine's Day. So let's see what they say. Happy Valentine's Day. Thank you for your support of our vital mission today and every day. We're so thankful for the difference you make. Love, the American Heart Association. Okay? Now, let's look on the back at the fine print, because here's where they lost me. The American Heart Association advances groundbreaking research, spreads life-saving knowledge, and reaches out to people of all ages. We're fighting heart disease and stroke in your community to ensure healthier, longer lives for you and your loved ones. So the sender of this card is one who supports our work. And here are some things you need to do to keep your heart healthy. Know what your blood pressure is. If it's high, you're at risk of heart disease, stroke, and other serious medical problems. That's true. Have a doctor check your blood pressure regularly. Take your medicine as prescribed, and then take the following steps to keep your blood pressure and heart health at a healthy level. You guys ready for this list? You guys ready? Number one, heart healthy, according to this beautiful little Valentine's Day card from the American Heart Association. They say to be heart healthy, get moving. At least 30 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity on most days will help lower blood pressure. Okay, that's not bad in and of itself, but what about having 20 minutes of high intensity training? We know that that has a far better metabolic effect on the body than 30 minutes of just brisk walking. Why don't you go and do some HIIT training, high intensity interval training? You guys have seen me do tire flips. You can run at a very fast pace for, intervals of like 30 seconds and then recover for like a minute, minute and a half, and then 30 seconds all out. And you do that in about 10 to 20 minutes. Couple times a week, you get better benefits than if you did at least 30 minutes of moderate intensity. So that's not really good advice. Here's the big one, guys. The second one on their list about how to have a healthier heart. Eat healthy. Now that term's thrown out there very often. And people, oh, just eat healthy, eat more balanced, blah, 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 blah. And they never define it. Well, guess what? The American Heart Association is defining what they mean when they say eat healthy. You ready? We're reading from the Valentine's Day card. Reduce the amount of salt you eat. Okay, you do not have a salt deficiency or salt over-sufficiency problem. You have a salt deficiency, most people. And so lowering your salt is one of the worst possible things you could do. And yet, the American Heart Association sends me a little Valentine's Day card. Isn't it sweet? And they say reduce the amount of salt. Eat more fruit. Okay, AHA, what am I supposed to get from fruit that I don't get from all the keto foods that I consume? I can get every bit of every nutrient of relevance in the meats that I'm eating right now primarily than I'll ever get from fruit, and without the blood sugar and insulin effects that come from consuming the fructose that's in that fruit. Nope. Eat more vegetables. Okay, they say vegetables as if vegetables are all the same thing. Non-starchy green leafy vegetables, probably not a bad idea for people that choose to eat vegetables. But when you tell people to eat more vegetables, they go to things that aren't even vegetables. Corn, potatoes. Oh, those are vegetables. They're plant-based. And so without giving specifics of what kind of vegetables, people left to their own devices tend to choose the worst kind, right? Eat more fat-free and low-fat dairy products. My blood sugar just spiked just thinking about drinking skim milk again, or low-fat cheese. No. So that's their eat healthy. So if you're just joining us, we are reading from a Valentine's card I got from the American Heart Association. And they tell me that there are ways to prevent a heart attack and get your heart ticking really well. And they say move for 30 minutes moderately a week, which is bogus, or most days of the week. It's bogus. Do 10 to 20 minutes of high intensity interval training. You get a whole lot more cardiovascular benefits. Eat healthy, which they define as low salt, lots of fruits and vegetables, and lots of fat-free and low-fat dairy products. No mention of meat in there at all. And yet without animal-based foods, you can't ever get complete proteins. So they're trying to make people nutritionally deficient by giving them this nonsense advice to eat lots of fat-free and low-fat dairy and not saying anything about meat. I'm surprised it didn't say red meat will kill you. Next up, maintain a healthy weight. Excess weight may raise your blood pressure. And that's true, but the biggest mover of blood pressure, the biggest improver, and we've seen this in a lot of studies, you guys. Go look up the research on ketogenic diets. One of the biggest things that happens for most people that go keto, when they get adequate amounts of salt and lots of fat, minimize on the carbohydrate, their blood pressure becomes very normal. And I found this when I went on the Atkins diet. I was on blood pressure medication at the time. I went on the Atkins diet, and within like 6 weeks, I was like blacking out, getting up off the couch, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. The low-carb, high-fat diet had normalized my blood pressure. And so they say maintain a healthy weight to help keep your blood pressure in check. I say go keto. Get the same thing to happen. And of course, by the way, the side effect of that is weight loss as well. And then here is the final bit of advice from the American Heart Association about how to keep your heart healthy. Follow your healthcare provider's advice exactly, especially when it comes to the medications they prescribe. Wow. Wow. So the American Heart Association, they know that what they're sharing about diet is incomplete. They know that if you ate their diet, which is usually chock full of carbohydrates, devoid of fat, they know that you're going to have physical ramifications of that. side effects that come from doing that nutrient deficient of a diet, which is what a low-fat diet is. If you're eating a low-fat diet, please stop. You're basically harming your body perhaps as much as you would be if you were eating a junk food diet. So don't do that. But they know, the fact that they tell you follow your healthcare provider's advice exactly, especially regarding the meds, they know you got to have those meds or you'll die. They know that. And so they give all this advice all about how to be healthy and to keep your ticker running well. And it's bogus. It's not really helping you. And so thanks, but no thanks, American Heart Association, for sending me a Valentine's Day card. You can send me the Valentine all you want, but you don't like my keto. And it's my keto that has helped me get heart healthier. I have a family history of heart disease. My dad had a heart attack at 48, another one at 50, had quintuple heart bypass surgery at 54. Both of my grandfathers died of heart disease in their lower 50s. My brother Kevin had 3 heart attacks in the span of 1 week at the age of 32 that nearly killed him and eventually did kill him at the age of 41. So don't lecture me about heart health, AHA. Don't tell me what it takes to be heart healthy, because I've watched family members that are very close to me go through this very issue. And while I have that genetic predisposition to go that route as well in my genetics, I am expressing epigenetics thanks to keto, thanks to minimizing my carbohydrate intake, thanks to embracing healthy fats, thanks to bringing my triglycerides into a normal range, thanks to lowering my small dense LDL particles, thanks to lowering my inflammatory markers. All of these things are a whole lot better as a goal when it comes to trying to make your cardiovascular health better, that I don't need you lecturing me under the guise of a Valentine's Day card about how to be heart healthy. You are killing people. You are hurting people. You're making heart disease worse, not better. And so you can be all sweet all you want with these Valentine's Day cards, but this is just a bunch of bullcrap. And you know it. You know it strongly. And that's what I wanted to share here today on this Jimmy Rants. All right, let's see what you guys have to say. Welcome in, welcome in. Thanks for being here. Anybody else get this Valentine's Day card from the American Heart Association? I saw that and went, oh, they don't know who they sent this to. Katrina says, send them some bacon. Yeah, they would want the turkey bacon, though. And even then, that's probably too fatty. Blood sugar spike again, says Alberto. Yeah, exactly. If they do know you're keto, it's a smart blank card. Joshua, I don't think they have any idea. I'm sure I got put on some mailing list. I wouldn't be surprised if some vegan threw my name on their mailing list just to rile me up. Send them a box, the butcher box or Crowd Cow, says UT rocks. Yeah. Lane Norton wrote that for them. Yeah, he does believe a lot of that stuff, Clegadier. But unfortunately, it's conventional wisdom. Mark VA71, did Bayer not give them enough this year to market their soybean oil? I guess they got to keep up the pretense of being a grassroots patients advocacy organization. Yeah, and the same with the American Diabetes Association. People think, oh, they know everything. That's the cutting edge of what to do about diabetes, and same with the American Heart Association. They know everything about how to make your heart health better. Guys, I'm here to tell you, these organizations are more about propaganda and influence than they are about actually helping people with chronic disease, like heart disease with the AHA or diabetes with the American Diabetes Association. Although at least with diabetes, American Diabetes Association, they did recently add in low carb as an option for people and doctors to start using. So they are progressing. But as you've seen here today with this Valentine's Day card I got from the AHA, they're not. If anything, they're digging their heels in even more. Keto Mama Wolf, you caught me live. Thanks for being here. Livin' Lizen Healthy says you should send them one of all of your books as a Valentine's Day present. No, they might throw darts at it, but no, they know who I am. I've spoken out against the AHA a very long time, so they know exactly who I am. Alberto says that letter would kill me of a heart attack. I was laughing the whole time I was reading, you know, and what's funny is they put just enough good stuff in there that you're like, yeah. And I wonder how many people got really deep into that, because you saw it was like 8 layers in before I got to that card, which had all of that information about their nutritional philosophy and all this. I wonder how many people just read like the letter and went, yeah, I believe in all this. Let me send them some money. And they never get to what the root of what they believe is. All righty. Sponsored by Cheerios, says Keto Mama Wolf. I'm surprised they didn't say, you know, eat like a healthy whole grain cereal, blah, blah, blah. You know they believe that, though. Go on the American Heart Association website, and you'll see that's exactly what they believe. Cincy Keto Girl says, I'm a heart patient. I agree with you completely. My cardiologist does not like me very much because I don't listen to him. And he probably labels you as a non-compliant patient at this point. But you've learned. You've educated yourself, Cincy Keto Girl, and kudos to you. I don't think enough patients grab back control of their own health when they go through a serious thing. And I think in general, when you go through something serious like that, you want to listen to what the doctor says. But at the end of the day, you've got to be the one that makes the final decision about what you're going to do with your health. Susan Oliver says, I guess they have to take care of the core that signed their paycheck. That's sad to me, though. Because if you're a patient advocacy group that's all about helping patients and general public understand about cardiovascular health, and you're putting out drivel that you know is exactly the wrong advice. Now, here's something. I wonder how many leaders in these groups like the American Heart Association, I wonder how many of them actually eat the way that they recommend through all their materials. I wonder. Seriously. And it was just about 3 or 4 years ago that the guy that was the president of the American Heart Association had a heart attack. And I remember at the time, he was like, oh, I have major genetics that make this an inevitability that I was going to have a heart attack. It's one reason I remain so passionate about blah, blah, blah. And not realizing that perhaps it could be the diet that you're recommending. And maybe he did embrace it. And okay, maybe he has a genetic predisposition, but a lot of us do. That doesn't mean that the advice that he's giving isn't bad. And it doesn't mean that it was inevitable. It could mean that he could have expressed those genes in a different way because of epigenetics through the nutrition and lifestyle choices that he makes. So I never buy that whole excuse. Keto Mama Wolf says, okay, eat more sugar. Got it. That is pretty much what they're saying. Bonnie Lene, the salt should be pink salt with minerals or others except for Morton white salt stripped of nutrients. Yes, you have learned well, Kemosabi. Bonnie, thank you. Good job. Reduce the salt, eat more fruit, eat more vegetables, low fat, no, says Grandma Does Keto. You nailed it. Marissa says, I used to have skim and lactose-free milk, which made me even more bloated. Yeah, it does. Never-ending battle, says Darla. How do we convince people? Well, we convince people by doing what I do on a daily basis on these Jimmy Rants. Educate. Educate, educate, educate. Some people will get it. Some people will never get it. And like I said the other day, you got to be okay with some people never getting this message. But for the people who are tuning in and do want to know, you got to be standing ready to help them. Help them understand why more salt, not less salt, is good. Why more fat, not less fat, is good. Why less carbohydrates, not more carbohydrates, is good. We keep educating, we keep living it, we keep showing them the why. And eventually, when they're ready, they'll accept it. Oh, Chrissy Sue says, and don't forget about all the things in the store that they put their stamp of approval on are SHIT. And so you're right, they are. And so that's why whenever I see that whole American Heart Association heart health symbol, that one right there, when I see that symbol on any given food item, I know that is something to run and run very fast from. Vegetable oils are very notorious for having the American Heart Health Association heart health symbol on there, because it does lower your cholesterol, your LDL cholesterol, but they pretend like that's a good thing. Lowering LDL cholesterol is not necessarily a good thing when you do it with an inflammatory product like vegetable oils. So they lower the good kind of LDL, and maybe that's news to you. There are good LDL cholesterol and there are bad LDL cholesterol. The good LDL are the large fluffy kind, and when you eat inflammatory foods like vegetable oils, which have that American Heart Association heart health symbol on it, you are, yes, lowering your total LDL, but you're getting rid of the good ones, and all you're doing is leaving behind the bad ones. And those are becoming highly inflamed, which makes them a lot more what's called atherogenic. So they make more heart disease, eating the very thing that the American Heart Association tells you is heart healthy. Doesn't make sense, does it? Doesn't make sense at all. The AHA must make sure to keep everyone hypnotized so they can keep themselves in business, says Alberto. Some days it feels that way, Alberto. It really does. Which is why I think people are moving away from those kind of organizations for help, and why you should never be sending your money to these people. The American Diabetes Association, American Heart Association, even like the American Cancer Society, a lot of these monies go towards drug therapies, which in and of themselves, drug therapies may be helpful, but they're giving no good instruction about preventative measures, which is what a lot of people send money for. Oh, we need to find preventative measures for all of these things while we're also looking for means for treating. They're not looking at any nutritional preventative measures, so you're just throwing your money down the drain. The AHA is a marketing organization for big food and pharma, nothing more, nothing less, says Mark. I think that's more true than not, Mark, and so thank you for sharing that. My mom had a heart attack 3 days ago. Everything that card said is exactly what they told my mother. She also found out that she's diabetic. Danide Shea, sorry about that. Yeah, and by the way, diabetes and heart disease are the exact same disease. They want to make a distinction. So it doesn't surprise me that your mom had a heart attack and then she finds out she's a type 2 diabetic. Both are inflammatory diseases. Both are chronic diseases related to insulin resistance. And both developed as a direct result of consuming highly inflammatory foods. Primarily carbohydrates of the refined kind and those vegetable oils we were just talking about. Those are in every packaged food known to mankind that isn't real whole foods. And so they keep putting this stuff in all these foods. People eat them. Oh, it's food. It's in the grocery store. They wouldn't put it out there if it would hurt me. Yeah, they would. And good people like your mom are having heart attacks and getting diagnosed with type 2 diabetes all the time. It's why the American Heart Association has failed people. And they should be ashamed of themselves using a Valentine's Day card as a way to get their propaganda out. And I ain't going to put up with it. That's why I'm exposing them here today on Jimmy Rants. My dad had quadruple bypass and eventually transplant while under the AHA bad recommendations, the standard American healthy diet. Yeah. Yep. I have the same feelings about the ADA, says George. Yeah, for sure. I believe the president of the AHA had a heart attack. Yep, I just was talking about that. This kind of propaganda is why my dad gets sicker and thinks keto's crazy while his diet doesn't work. That's the strangest thing too, Chrissy. Nobody bats an eye if you eat the way the AHA talks about. Fat-free, lots of healthy whole grains, doing all those things, and lots of fruits and vegetables. If you do all of those things, nobody bats an eye. And if you happen to have a heart attack, okay, genetics played, blah, blah, blah. But the moment you go keto, you're under a microscope. They're like, okay, that's going to kill you sooner than later. You're going to clog your arteries. You're going to have a heart attack. And people never bat an eye at the low fat and when something happens. But don't you dare go keto and have a heart attack or go keto and have a stroke, they'll have a stroke hearing that you did that. It's the weirdest kind of dichotomy that we live in. Deborah says, send them a gift of butter. 54-year-old woman, heart disease is a family trait I've had. I've been keto a year, down 60 pounds. I love what you do. Thank you. Keto is my way of eating for life. Donnie J, 82, I'm proud of you. That's awesome. And you are bucking that trend of your family genetics. Like a friend's mom who is on a constant insulin pump told me she was doing low carb at 35 to 40 grams per meal, shaking my head. Keto Mama Wolf, they're told that. Oh, if you keep your meals to 35 to 40 grams of carbs per meal, that's very low in carbs. Not realizing that they're using the insulin pump to cover up the very carbs that they're consuming. So if they cut the carbs way, way down, guess what happens to their need for insulin? It goes way, way down as well. But nobody's telling them that. Are you working with retired NFL? Big article in New York Times. Most seem stuck with eat less, move more. They need a guy like you. Thank you, Bluebirds. I am not. I'd be happy to help in any way. You know, that's what I'm all about. Creepy carbs are everywhere, says Donnie. You guys crack me up sometimes with your comments. How to lower overpopulation, poison them with sugar, and give them the wrong diet advice, says Ray Leanne. Oh, yeah. If that's what they're doing, then good job. It's my life. I'm not going to hand it over to my own health for someone else, or hand over my own health for someone else. I do get nervous and stuff when people say things about my way of eating, but I know inside that I'm happier than I've ever been. Gerald, keep learning. It's why you come back to these Jimmy Rants and try to learn more and more and more, because the scaremongering is real. And they'll use those tactics to scare you away from keto. And they'll even send you a Valentine's Day card telling you to eat less salt and cut your fat. Eat lots of fruits and vegetables. That's the way to health. And make sure you take all the medications exactly as your doctor prescribes. Maria says, love my keto. I'm down 88 pounds. See, you're bucking this trend. You're making the AHA upset at you, Maria, because you're doing it the wrong way. You didn't do it their way. When I was eating chips for breakfast, no one said a word. Went keto, everyone's concerned about my health. Yeah, BB, it's so funny. People will look at orange juice, oatmeal, and all that kind of nonsense, crappy garbage for breakfast. Oh, well, look how healthy you're eating. And then you have bacon and eggs, and they think you're going to have a heart attack. In fact, I travel quite a bit with what I do. I've got quite a few over the next 5 weekends. I'm going to be traveling, and it's going to be crazy staying in hotels and things like that. And I remember one time I went down to the lobby, and I was a little hungry that morning, so I got some food at the breakfast buffet, and they had eggs and bacon on there along with all the crappy garbage stuff. So I put eggs and I think it was even sausage on my plate. And this guy looks over at me and he says, oh, I see you're letting yourself go on vacation. And I was like, letting myself go? What are you talking about? Oh, well, those aren't very healthy for you. Meanwhile, he had some bran muffin and a toast that didn't have butter on it and all kind of stuff. I didn't say a word. I just said, yeah, I'm just letting myself go. I eat this way every day. New Bill Janet, that's the way they do me at work. I work at a college cafeteria. We eat for free. The women eat all the time. They look at me like I'm crazy because I'm not hungry at 10 o'clock. You're not hungry. There you go. Keto Tiny Invented says, send the CEO of the AHA a copy of Real Food Keto, signed, I love you more. That should be 2 O's in that more, right, Keto Tiny? Let's see. Thank you for your kindness. Love your rants. Love being educated. Thank you, Am Case. Appreciate you being here. I started keto to avoid heart issues, says Dana. Yeah. I don't think a lot of us got into this specifically for that reason, but the more you learned about a low-carb ketogenic approach and its positive effects on cardiovascular health, for those of you that haven't heard before, the reason keto helps with cardiovascular health is specific things that it does, like a champ. When you go keto, regardless of where your triglycerides are, they typically go way, way down. For most people that are carbohydrate restricted, they go below 100. And when triglycerides go below 100, that's a very good sign. That is the truly bad fat that's in the blood. We like to hear about LDL cholesterol being the bad fat in cardiovascular health, but the real bad fat is triglycerides. And the thing that raises triglycerides the most, you guessed it, it's carbohydrate. So if you reduce carbohydrate, trigs fall like a rock. Another thing that goes or changes when you go keto in your cardiovascular health is your HDL cholesterol. It goes up like a champ. There's no drug that will raise this good cholesterol as well as eating fat would. So when you eat more fat in conjunction with lowering the carbohydrate, you not only get lower triglycerides, but you get higher levels of HDL cholesterol. And it's that ratio between the triglycerides and the HDL that most researchers are now looking at for signs of great cardiovascular health. When that number is below 3 and most certainly optimally below 1, you are in great heart health, no matter what your total cholesterol or your LDL-C cholesterol says. Okay, that makes sense? Another thing that keto does is it lowers inflammation levels. So you can run inflammation in a variety of ways in the body. Homocysteine is one way. IGF-1 is another marker. But one of the most common ones that a lot of doctors can run if they choose to run it, most don't because they don't give a crap about inflammation, is an HSCRP, high sensitivity C-reactive protein. And that number needs to be under 1 optimally. If you get it under, 2, 3, it's pretty good, but under 1 means you've got very low inflammation levels. So the American Heart Association doesn't want to tell you this stuff, that cut the carbs, you lower your trigs. Eat more healthy fats, real food-based healthy fats, butter, coconut oil, lard, those kinds of things. You raise your HDL. You get that triglyceride HDL ratio in a really good spot. And then those things also calm the inflammation that are happening in the body so that that inflammation goes lower. And here's the secret. And it was nowhere to be found in their Valentine's Day card. You lower inflammation, you can't have heart disease. You lower inflammation, you can't have a heart attack. You lower inflammation, strokes won't happen. So why don't we talk about ways of eating and ways of living that lower the amount of inflammation in the body? Again, they don't want you to know that. They're not putting out that information to the public, and yet they want to send you a Valentine's Day card and a pitch for you to send them some money, when all they're going to do is keep pushing that propaganda while continuing to push medication. It's disgusting. And I'll call them out on it. That's what we're doing here today. When people scare you about keto, the reality is they're telling you why they are scared of keto. Yeah. Yeah, and that's where we can educate. I think people think if it tastes good, it can't be good for you. Yes, Susan, that is a lot of it. Diet mentality still pervades. So if it tastes horrible, it must be good for you. That is true. Olga, hey, thanks for being here. Keto Reality, the AHA charges companies for the right to put that heart healthy logo on their packaging. That is right. The more you buy, the better deal you get. The fact that they charge but don't care when it's used is awful. That's true. That's true. It's interesting. I am in a continual study with Duke University. The doctors end up arguing amongst themselves as they look at my chart, says low carb, high fat fella. They can't make any sense of how I keep improving, eating lots of fat and little carbohydrate. Some refuse to understand what they might have been taught is wrong. They do. Boss Philly, I'm down 165 pounds. Woo, woo. Kept off for over 10 years. Blood work is phenomenal. Never been healthier. keto strong. Yeah, for sure. Unfortunately, low triglycerides means overestimating cholesterol for athletes since the equation subtracts 5 times triglycerides in the equation. Thank you for that, Blue Birds. So yes, in this equation of triglycerides being under 100, which is the goal, and with the HDL cholesterol, which we talked about earlier, eating more fats raises it. Usually it raises it above 50, ideally above 70. When you have that triglyceride to HDL ratio under 1 like that, he is exactly right. They run this standard lipid panel, and you get an LDL-C back that has your LDL cholesterol. That's the one the doctors all have a hissy fit about, which then impacts your total cholesterol. And so they have a hissy fit because it's really high. Well, guess what? When your trigs are under 100 and your HDL is over 50, it can miscalculate that little equation called the Friedwald equation. It miscalculates what your actual LDL is. So when your doctor starts having a hissy fit about your LDL cholesterol, it's so high, you need to get on the statin, you can say, wow, that's really interesting. So did they directly measure my LDL? It's an accurate number, and you should just trust me. Well, I've heard that if you have triglycerides under 100, like I do, and HDL over 50, like I do, that LDL-C is miscalculated. Are you questioning my, I'm a doctor, I know what I'm saying. Well, I understand you're a doctor, and I can appreciate you're giving me help, but I would like to have an NMR lipoprofile test run so I can actually look at what the LDL particles are doing and the particle size. Can you run that for me? That's not a standard. Okay. Educate your doctor. Let them know where they get it wrong. And you might even open some of their eyes. I felt in my heart for years that natural oils were better than the fake ones, and I've always avoided the lab oils my whole adult life, but I still ate crappy garbage. That's what made my trigs high for sure. Yeah, Chrissy Sue, for sure. Donnie says, inflammation has gone down, arthritis going away as far as pain. Great. That is excellent. My husband, who refuses to get it, says that the phlebotomist said he has large veins. He said, you would think my arteries wouldn't clog. I holler, inflammation, as he walks away, says Katrina. Yeah, the size of your arteries certainly does not matter. Gerald says, my total cholesterol is 206, LDL 139, HDL 57, trigs 49. I think that's good. I mean, I don't have the best quality food on a low-carb diet, but I know it's better for me than Twinkies. Those numbers are all excellent. If anything, the longer you go keto and the longer you do this, you'll see that LDL and total possibly go higher. And your HDL 57, trigs 49. Those numbers are great. All the rest of that's pretty decent. Yeah, that's nothing to sneeze at. Sherry says, my trigs went from 249 to 143, and the report said 143 is acceptable. My ratio went from 7 to 5. Sherry, they do say up to 150 is acceptable for triglycerides, but for people that eat keto, that is not a functional range. The functional range does not go to 150. The functional range is 0 to 100. And optimal range is 0 to 70. So try to shoot for that. The more you carbohydrate restrict and add in more healthy fats and get into a state of ketosis, that number will continue to fall and fall and fall. Alberto said, when you ask for the NMR lipoprofile test, your doctor will have to Google it after you leave. Let's see. Simple calculation to check for your particles. High triglycerides and low HDL means you're type B, low triglycerides, high HDL type A. Thank you, Saratoga PA, or Saratoga Spa. Sorry about that. You're right. Typically, when your triglycerides are lower, meaning below that 100, and HDL is higher, above 50, it does mean that you have mostly large, fluffy particles and not the small, dense LDL particles. But it's also good to ask your doctor to run that NMR because it's another data point, not a proxy like the lower trigs and higher HDL. That's a proxy for it. He can actually see with his eyes that you have better profile when you actually have him run that test. All right, guys, so the bottom line in this Jimmy Rants is you might be getting a Valentine's Day card from the American Heart Association. They sent me this beautiful Valentine's Day card. It was so nice and sharing information, and then they had to give me a bunch of bull crap on the back of the card telling me how to make my heart healthy. That was the polar opposite of what I do on my ketogenic diet. So don't always believe what you read from these groups that claim to be about heart health, with the American Heart Association as an example, or diabetes like the American Diabetes Association. You know what the right information is for you. And if you don't, keep learning, keep educating yourself, keep looking up information. Don't ever stop being a student of all of this. As many years as I've been doing this, I still to this day am a student and never will stop learning. That's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. As always, go to jimmyrants.com. You'll see how we work. We start off over on Instagram, so go follow me at Instagram at livinglowcarbman, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. You can watch live just like all my amazing peeps did here today here on Instagram Live. If you missed the live, you can watch the replay for up to 24 hours on Instagram, but it does disappear after 24 hours. Never fear, we got you covered. We pop them all over onto YouTube, so go look up Jimmy Rants on YouTube. You can find the past episodes. We talked a lot about cholesterol in today's show, so go put in like Jimmy Rants and cholesterol. You'll see the rants that I've done all about cholesterol on past episodes. Finally, we have a Jimmy Rants podcast, which you can access on Apple Podcasts. Go and listen, leave us a review, subscribe, all that good stuff. All of these links, you guys, is at jimmyrants.com. So until next time, we'll see you then.